Residential real estate is traditionally transacted through brokerage and agencies, which we're very happy about. We have a strong professional local association called the Cayman Islands Real Estate Brokers Association, which not only runs the MLS, but also runs the industry, so regulates and provides training services. And through that association, when you're a member, then you're required to take on a listing on an exclusive basis. So you represent the vendor primarily, which is what's required under Cayman law, which is a British legal system. And so you really can't act as a buyer's agent legally, although of course we build strong relationships with many buyers and we become the agent of choice for those buyers. So that's basically the way the system works in Cayman. We have a market of about $1 billion a year. I would say the vast majority of those transactions happen through an agent, through a brokerage. Current housing market in the Cayman Islands can only be described as booming. And this is actually something we don't see that often because we typically have a steady growth rate. But I think the stars have aligned and we've had some real positive things come together with Cayman in terms of the development we've planned over the past 25 years. We've got great infrastructure, we've got a very stable economy, it's a very safe location, and we have a population which is very welcoming to outside investors. And because of that, we've become an even more inviting destination and welcoming destination for international investors. And we've just seen those numbers escalate into the real estate business. What we're seeing is a boom market. What we're seeing are prices in some of our key markets, the sub-market of 7 Mile Beach, for example, which is our prime market, rise in almost an exponential fashion. 10 years ago, the price per square foot, the maximum price per square foot on 7 Mile Beach was about $1,000, and we're up to close to $2,000 per square foot for those same developments these days. So we've seen an almost 100% increase over a 10-year period. In other areas, the more residential, local areas, it's a little quieter than that, but we're still seeing low supply and high demand fueled by a very positive economy and a very welcoming attitude towards international investors. Luxury buyers are looking for quality, they're looking for design, and they're looking for amenities. But I think more than anything in a Caribbean context, they're looking for safety. And the Cayman Islands is literally the safest place in the Caribbean. It's very stable economically, it's a very wealthy country, so you don't have the poverty you see elsewhere in the Caribbean. We're very lucky in that regard. We also have managed to avoid hurricane hits for the past 20 years or so, which obviously helps us too. But because of that, we're a stable place where investors want to be. So that safety element is absolutely key. In fact, oftentimes we have investors coming down looking at resort-type properties because they feel they will probably have to buy on a resort. But when they feel Cayman, when they spend time in Cayman, they get to know Cayman as a great place so they can pretty much live anywhere. So a lot of times they'll buy off the resort properties on condominiums on 7 Mile Beach or homes on waterfront locations. And so that really is what most of our buyers are looking for. We provide in the Cayman Islands a great infrastructure for investors. We provide a safe legal system. We provide, obviously, we're one of the world's leading offshore finance centers, so we have the benefit of zero taxation. We have great amenities, as I mentioned. If you go there, you'll find it's one of the culinary capitals of the world. We have great food events each year, and the foodie industry has certainly come to Cayman in droves. And it's a great place to go out for dinner, great place to enjoy yourself. The schools are great. The healthcare is great. So it's becoming more than just a place to visit, but also it's a very enticing place to live. New construction is obviously very prevalent. It's associated with the boom we're seeing right now. And it's not just limited to potentially new resorts, new condominium complexes, but high net worth buyers are building homes for themselves in more residential areas. They feel that Cayman is going to be a longer term residence location rather than a short term visit. And that's very good for the local economy and shows the faith they have in the islands as a whole. But it's not just residential construction we're talking about. There's also commercial construction going on, obviously fueled by the growth of the offshore finance industry in the Cayman Islands. And that is creating jobs, and also those jobs create demand for residential as well. So whether it be for lease or for sale, both of those markets are very strong right now. In addition to that, the government has invested significantly in infrastructure. And I think that's absolutely key if we're going to continue to see the growth that we want to see. And I think you can drive through Cayman, you'll see new roads, I see new schools, new hospitals, and all the things that a local economy needs if it's going to remain stable and solid and fuel the growth of the real estate industry and the investor industry to come. So the luxury buyers in our market are both local and international. We've grown an economy over the past 30 years that has led to locals becoming quite wealthy by international standards, which is great because it means that creates a stability between locals and international investors. And we're seeing many locals who originally came as an expatriate, who have obtained a permanent residence or Caymanian status or a Cayman passport, and they're now considered a local as well. So it's a blend of sort of true locals and what we call paper Caymanians. Okay. Because of that, though, that stability is maintained, as I mentioned. So on an international basis, most of our market comes from North America. We have regular daily flights from, I think, almost close to 10 cities in the United States, not just Miami, Atlanta, the obvious ones, but New York. California's just been opened up, as has Colorado, Tampa, as I mentioned, and Houston, and certainly right the way across the United States is our primary focus. And we also have our own national airline, so we can determine what those routes are, which enables us to tap into specific markets, which is the reason we've just opened up Colorado and California. In addition, we have regular flights from Toronto coming into Canada. So the majority of our buyers are North American. And if you come to Cayman Islands, you'll find it Caribbean, but you'll also find it to North American standards, which North Americans like. Your cell phone works. The roads don't have that many potholes in them. They're very good. The general level of service is an international level of service, and we find that's attractive to the North American buyer, who see it, as I say, more of a place to buy and live, very much as opposed to just a place to visit. In fact, certain buyers have bought generations ago, and we're now seeing their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, even their children coming back to Cayman and either staying in the same place or buying their own places, which is a nice trend. It shows that there's an affinity for Cayman, an affection for Cayman, and the loyalty to Cayman's brand, which we've worked hard to develop. So that's the luxury market source primarily. We are seeing an increase in Asian buyers and UK buyers. Of course, we're a UK overseas territory, so that's a natural market for us. And the offshore finance industry is primarily a UK-based offshore finance industry with workers and employees coming out of the UK and Europe. So we are seeing buyers in that market as well. And we hope the Asian market will grow. We think there's an affinity between places like Hong Kong, which is a former overseas territory, and the Cayman Islands, and we've seen some activity from that direction more recently. So it's very vibrant. It's limited markets, but markets that we like to do business with. Obviously, we're close to North America, and that's going to be our primary customer base. Cayman's renowned as one of the most stable, not only economies, but political locations in the Caribbean. And we've benefited from that political stability over the past 30 years that we've grown. And more recently, that political stability, when compared to what's going on elsewhere in the world, seems highly attractive. To come to a place where the government has a balanced budget, where the political parties pretty much think in the same direction and don't have a massive ideological difference, has a very positive effect on not only our economy, but also on the way people feel when they live in the country. We're not constantly turning on the news and finding arguments going on between various political parties that obviously we see on other locations in other countries. And people can get a rest for that by coming to the Cayman Islands and relaxing on the beach and getting away from the normal news on CNN or BBC, or wherever else you might be looking for. I think if the trend continues, obviously, we're going to see continued growth. My feeling is we'll probably see between 3 to 5% per annum. Certainly the exponential growth we've all already seen on 7 Mile Beach. Probably won't continue at quite the same rate, but I think it will continue. And so, as I said, 3 to 5% per annum is probably what we'd like to see in terms of appreciation overall, which is very healthy.